What's up, everybody? Joe Troyer here. If you can see my pretty mug and you can see my screen as well, it should say welcome to the AMA. You can hear me loud and clear. If it wouldn't be too much of a bother, if you could let me know in the chat, that would be absolutely fantastic. Make sure that we got things set up technically here before we get started. That would be great. What's up, Carl King? Dan Kurtz, what is up, Dan Kurtz? Good to see you, brother. John Shaw, welcome, welcome. Roger Matthews, good to see you. He says, awesome, Joe. Looking and sounding great. I don't know about that, but thank you, Doug. Appreciate that, brother. Gary Gill, what's up, man? Been a long time, Gary. Let's see. Trevor, welcome, welcome. Steve Miller, happy Halloween. Thanks, brother. Hassan, I hear you. Awesome, fantastic. So Hassan, can you see me as well? And can you see my my presentation screen too? That'd be great. Bro, you lost some weight. Yes, sir. He said working out. So yes, talked about that a little bit in the last AMA, but that means you probably weren't on the last one. Congrats for making this one. Definitely working out, running, kind of combo and diet of the two, as well as definitely watching what I'm eating. Where's the other half of you? Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Before we go ahead and jump in, I wanted to get a little bit of feedback from you, question or two here before we get started. Also give everybody 1 or 2 minutes here real quick just to join in before we get started and get the AMA officially kicked off. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even notice that. Can you guys see that surfboard right there? Yeah, so that's like one of my favorite paintings. It's like a painting on this like mini surfboard. That's been with me for the last 2 or 3 offices, one of my favorite pieces here in the office. Anywho, what I wanted to ask you guys was, have you guys seen me everywhere over the last 2 weeks? How many of you guys have seen an ad that was mine? Either a video ad, a retargeting ad, a Gmail ad. How many of you guys have seen me literally everywhere over the last 2 weeks? Give me some feedback in the chat, that would be great. Okay, not me, not me. Yes, I have, John. So John, where'd you see me? Al, no, just an email. So John Guild, if you would, brother, let me know. Where'd you see me, man? Yes, everywhere. Freaking YouTube. Yep, everywhere on YouTube. Inside my Gmail account. Okay, cool. Yeah, so the campaigns are starting to work. Okay, cool. YouTube, yeah. Okay, cool, guys. Thanks for the feedback. So yeah, we have, I've been rolling out some YouTube campaigns, as well as some Gmail campaigns, and some display network campaigns, all of it retargeting. And each and every one of you guys should be doing this in your business. This is like Mickey Mouse stuff, right? Like this is the basics. Retargeting is just a super, super cheap, easy way to stay in front of your ideal target market. And it literally costs pennies on the dollar compared to going after and finding a new customer. So thanks, guys, for that feedback. I appreciate it. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into the AMA. Again, I'm going to do my best to keep today limited to an hour. I put in a few more questions than I put in last session, so we're gonna have to kind of stay on topic, and I'm gonna do my best to ram through these. We still have a lot more questions for me to get to, and so I gotta figure out how to pace these a little bit faster and get through a little bit more with you guys inside of this hour on Wednesday. So first question, Alex Randon asks, what are the best practices for ranking businesses with multi-locations inside of local search? I've often been confused about this due to citations and not wanting mismatched information. What is the best way to list their location and to get their business ranked for their main keyword phrases in each city? All right, so this is a great question, and honestly, a question that I think a lot of people have, but are frankly kind of scared to ask it. They feel like they should know the answer to the question already. So local SEO with multi-locations is really actually, guys, very, very simple. And I'm sure that most of you guys are like overthinking the crap out of it. If you know how to do local SEO with one website and get it ranked in local, going after multiple locations and multiple cities, right? And whether the company's in 5 cities or they're in 35 cities, the process really doesn't change a whole lot. All right, so there's just a core couple of things that you got to really keep in mind, or things that I would make sure are happening if I was in your shoes. All right, so first off, I would put each and every location on one website. Okay, each and every location on one website. The only time or times that I wouldn't do that is if, let's say, each location is a franchise. Maybe then it's up for debate whether you want to put each location on a website. But even then, I would really push to have it on one website, right? The only other reason that I wouldn't have each location, right, pointing back to one domain or to one website is if you're doing anything that could be considered gray hat or black hat. Right, if you're doing anything that's considered gray hat or black hat, you would want to keep things separated so that you don't have all of your eggs in one basket, right? Because if you get hit with that one domain, right, across all those GMB listings, let's say there's 20 or 30 locations, it's going to be a lot of work standing everything back up and fixing the issues, all right? So if I were you though, 95% of the time, right, put it on one website. Next up, each city then, right, should have a corresponding page. And you either want to, put that on yourdomain.com or your client's domain.com/city, or put it on an individual subdomain. So you do city.yourdomain.com. If you're going to be going after a lot of locations, I think that the subdomain makes more sense, right? So let's say you're working with a client and they're in 15 states, right? The subdomain probably makes more sense, right? If you're working with a client and their service area, let's say, is like 30 miles, and so they're not in a lot of locations, they just have a service area that they want to hit. If that's the case, then I would probably use this top structure. Okay, so those are kind of the two different use cases that we use. Next up, whether you go with a subdomain or you're going with a page, you're going to want to put the NAP, the name, the address, and the phone number on that page or subdomain. All right, and each location that you want to have a Google My Business for, right, needs its own separate address and phone number. Okay, if I were you, I'd keep the name exactly the same, and I would just change out and swap out, right, the address and the phone number. Next up, on that page or on that subdomain, depending on what you prefer or what you end up going after, I would embed the map, right, of that location from Google My Business, right? You can embed it with driving directions on that page and subdomain. I would also link directly back to the GMB, to the Google My Business account from that page and subdomain as well. Okay, and these last things, guys, here, these are all things that are just like correlations, right? You're helping Google make sure that it doesn't trip and fall, right? You're telling Google and showing Google exactly what it wants to see. Okay, will all of these have a huge, impact on your campaign? No, but it's going to help them make the correlation that this is the page or this is the subdomain for that city. Okay, we just don't want Google having any confusion there. Okay, and then each location should have their own optimized GMB location, right, inside of your Google My Business account. Okay, and guys, that's really it, right? So if you're going after, let's say, Philadelphia, PA for one location, right, and West Palm Beach, Florida for another, each GMB should be treated separately, okay, and it should be optimized separately. You don't want to use images from PA on the West Palm Beach location, right? When you're geotagging images on your Google My Business account, you want to geotag them, right, for whichever account or location you're going after, right? If you're going after or optimizing inside of the West Palm Beach account, you don't want to obviously be putting in information about Philadelphia. Okay, so keep it kind of siloed in terms of your optimization structure. Hey, Frankie Allen, good to see you, brother. All right, so next question. Philip Lynch asks, is there a way, and then he says, maybe gray hat, where a service company servicing half the state can have more than one GMB location? The answer for that is obviously yes. Can you do it white hat? Yes. Can you do it gray hat or black hat, depending on your definition of that? Yes. It's really up to you and your risk uh, level or your risk tolerance. And at the end of the day, I think that you and the company that you're working with, this service company, should be aware of the risk, right? No matter what it is, whether you go white hat, you go gray hat, you go black hat, it doesn't really matter what you decide. I think that it's important though that everybody's on the same page. I see a lot of consultants building out lots of business locations that are named the name of the business that they're working with fake GMBs. And I could guarantee almost that probably 9 out of 10 of their customers have no idea that that's a gray hat or black hat tactic. I just think that customers need to be informed if they're paying you for a service. That's all. Personally, me these days, I'm not running any quote unquote assets like this with black or gray hat strategies. Why? Because again, I want long-term assets. I want long-term strategies that are going to last me for years and years to come, not something that could get shut down tomorrow. Okay, so what do I mean by that? There's not a lot of difference, guys, between a white hat Google My Business location and a gray hat Google My Business location. There's not. One is a real address and obliges the Google Terms of Service, and the other one does not. If you read the Terms of Service and you make yourself aware of the choices that you have, right, it's not really that much of a difference. And guys, I would push, spend a little bit more money and set the thing up correctly so that your assets aren't built on, sand and they're just going to all come freaking crumbling down on you. Okay. Let's see. Al says, I'm in the middle of cleaning up an account that was suspended. If you want to cross that line, be aware. And I agree completely. I think you should be aware. And I'm not trying to preach to anybody. We've done lots and lots and lots of gray hat, black hat, whatever you want to call it, hat. I just think that you should be aware of the implications for what you're doing. And if you really think it through, I don't think it's that much harder to be like completely white hat. Al says, I got him unsuspended and presto, he jumped into the 3-pack. Yeah. All right, so next question. John Bell asks, where to get a virtual address for lead gen sites? Has Google caught up with smaller mailbox companies? I think Google's caught up with kind of everything. Can you get away with it? Yeah. But again, it's just kind of a matter of time until you do get caught, right? You're kind of just crossing your fingers. So can you do it? 100%. It's all your judgment call. Have I done it? Yeah. I've used a virtual address and an address that definitely doesn't comply with Google's terms of service before, right? Have I gotten smacked before? 100%. So again, it just is up to your tolerance, so to speak. Just make sure that you're educated on, what your costs are going to be and what the implications are going to be either way, so that you can make an educated decision instead of just following somebody's advice blindly. All right. So 100%, right? You could do things very legitimate for a lead gen business, right? You could go set up an LLC for that business in Florida. It costs $150. You could go sublet or sublease, right? An apartment, or not an apartment, a office space, right? From somebody. And it's all legitimate, right? With just a little bit more work. So which would you rather do, right? Like put in a little bit more work, get creative, figure some shit out, or kind of be on the chopping block or have the danger of that chopping block. So just something to think about. An opinion of mine that has changed a lot over the years, especially as Google continues to cramp down on things all of the time. So where can you get virtual addresses, or where can you get, I'm just going to extend this, an address for any, right, lead gen site or other site, right? Whether it's lead gen or it's your own business, whatever. Guys, you can get them everywhere, right? Where do you sign a lease, right? Where can you find out about sublets or subleases, right? Where can you find out about virtual addresses, right? The newspaper, Craigslist, friends, family, right? Or just some of the places. And you can get wildly freaking creative, right? Like ridiculously creative on how to get an address. It just really all depends how bad you want it or need it. Next up, Jay Kraft asks, what do you think of FB lead ads for local lead gen? This is a really good question. At the end of the day, I think lead ads can be great. I think advertising on Big Blue can be great as well. I think, though, that it really depends upon the type of business that you're trying to advertise for. At the end of the day, what we have to all realize is that there's two types of advertising, right? There's display advertising, which is interruption marketing, right? And then there's search advertising. Search advertising works really, really well because you show up at the exact moment in time that somebody's thinking about a service and typing that into Google. Interruption marketing is just that, right? Display marketing, where you gotta hold somebody's attention. You got them to get them to take you up on your offer, and hopefully they do, right? But even if you can get them to give you your information, right, with like a lead ad, you still have an issue with redemption, right? So let's talk about this a little bit more. So for lead ads, and is it good or not good, I would have to know what the offer is, right? And how the quote unquote funnel works. So for example, just to kind of show you guys or talk through two different examples here, I think like one could just be like a coupon and one could just be like an opt-in, right? For a free report, let's say for a local business with lead ads, for example. I think a coupon's good because it gets the customer thinking about going and visiting the business, right? So first visit's free or free exam with x-ray, or right, like any type of offer like that, or half off your first trip, right? I think is good for a lead ad. But at the end of the day, still the thing that you got to be concerned about in that the local business that you're working with, or your business, depending on whose it is how do you get redemption? Meaning not just give away that coupon, but how do you get somebody to actually use the coupon, right? Because you can have as many people opt in for it as possible, but if you can't get them to use it, it doesn't freaking matter, right? You're not getting any more business. And this is really a challenge. Years and years ago, we worked with a dentist and we ran some coupon type campaigns where it was like, come in for a free teeth whitening. Here's the coupon, right? There's only X amount available. And we did all types of things to try and force redemption, right? We were getting leads at an amazing CPA, or cost per acquisition, right? But at the end of the day, when we talked to the local dentist about how many people actually came in, right, sat in his seat, right? How many butts were there in the seat? There weren't many. And no matter what we did, we couldn't get the redemption quite there. So think about that, all right? So it's not just about the offer, it's does that turn into revenue, really? So you have the coupon on this side. I think the other way that you could run lead ads is for an opt-in for a report of some kind, or an evaluation or whatever, right? Some type of freebie opt-in. And at the end of the day, I think what you have to be concerned about as an agency owner or as a local business owner is, do you have a system to turn a cold or semi-warm prospect into revenue? And folks, running an agency, I can tell you that 99% of the businesses that we've worked with over the last year, 2 years, 5 years, right, 10 years, 99% of people don't. So from the perspective of an agency, if I were to go after lead ads and I was sold on this concept and I wanted to go after it, I would create like a whole system from generating the leads and running the lead ads to forcing redemption and revenue, right? And I would make sure that I control that piece and that I can track and I can show redemption and revenue, right? When you get that far, right, and you can track it all the way through and you have the entire process, you're going to be able to command whatever price point you want, right? And your services are going to be in high demand, obviously. So hopefully you guys like this one. Next, we got, let's see, who was it? Shane Patrick asks, with pay-per-call, what are your ideal margins with Google Ads to either help jumpstart leads and or before other organic results mature, or just to add more lead volume? So this is a very difficult question because we have these different circumstances here, right? We have until organic results mature or just to add more lead volume. So depending on those two scenarios, my answers are very different, right? Because these are just two very, very, very different examples, and I'll walk through these. If you're trying to make profit on a pay-per-call campaign with Google Ads. If that's the goal, just how much money can I make at the end of the day, right? I would suggest running mobile call only ads and not touching desktop. Okay, why? Because mobile call only ads, 1 in 3 people, roughly 1 in 2 people, 1 in 3 people, you're going to have a conversion, meaning they're actually going to call. If you send them to a website, I don't care how good of a designer you are, you're never going to be able to compete with that conversion rate, right? You might be able to get 1 in 6, 1 in 7, right? So it's double, triple, right? The amount of people to actually get a conversion. So if you're just after the money, I would start with call only. But we got these other scenarios here, right? Organic results mature or just to add more lead volume. So again, my goals and my expectations would be very, very different depending on the circumstance or the use case, right? So I've used Google Ads and Bing Ads to help drive more call volume for businesses where I already had lead generation streams in place, right? And for me, I've used it just to help bolster the call volume because the client wants more, right? And it's just like, I want more help, please give me more. I have more technicians, I got to keep them busier, right? And I have, as a use case in our pay-per-call agency, we've ran Google Ads, right? Where our goal was to make 20% markup, okay? But we were okay breaking even because we were making money on all the other calls that we were sending, right? So that's kind of one use case as well, all right? Another use case, right, is, right, you're starting from scratch and you have no other lead sources. You don't have any websites, right? You have no other ads running. You're starting from scratch. So, I mean, that could be to test a market and to also test price points on what price per lead is acceptable, right? And do you have an okay customer? And again, I think that the goal would be to make 20% markup, but again, okay with break even. Understand when you're testing a market, whether it's a city or an area, a region, right? Or you're testing just, HVAC or plumbing or whatever vertical it is that you're getting into, you're still in test mode. And at the end of the day, I don't think that you should have expectations to like crush it and make thousands of dollars a month when you're still doing like your due diligence in test mode, right? Really, at the end of the day, you're trying to figure out what keywords convert, right? What kind of ads and messaging convert, right? And when you start figuring that stuff out, you're going to start to make more money, right? But you also want to figure out where where do your leads need to be priced at in order for you to be able to sell them, right? Until you've been in a market, it's not really okay for you to know that, right? You're not going to know it. You're not going to know what it costs to generate a call with, this medium or with that medium. Okay, so I'll leave you with one thought here. If I was just going in right now into a new market, let's say I had a prospect that was a really promising prospect, call me up. He heard that I did pay-per-call marketing or that I did lead generation, right? And he wants to pay me to send him leads, right? I check him out. I do a little discovery session with him, right? He's a perfect candidate, right? He understands his average customer value, right? And he just needs more leads. He's advertising all over the place. That's the perfect pay-per-call customer, that criteria right there, okay? If he kind of met that criteria and I didn't know the industry, right? What I would do is say, let's run a test, right? I'll run a campaign for you for 30 days, right? You run or you pay for the Google ad spend. I'll run the campaign for you for free, right? I'll put up all the landing pages, all the ads, all the maintenance, all the optimization, and we'll see where the numbers fall. And after 30 days of us running it, right, we'll sit down together, right? Conference call or in person, whatever it is. I would recommend conference call, right? And we'll come up with something that's mutually agreeable. What's good about that? You don't have to put down $3,000 in ad spend on the table yourself, right? All that you got to do is run the campaign. Okay, then you get out of it, right, after 30 days, and you know exactly what's going on. You know the ads that work the best. You know the keywords that work the best, right? Maybe you know the landing pages that work the best, and you're able to have a face-to-face conversation with your prospect to understand the business more and what they can afford to pay. Okay, so if I was just getting into a niche, right, just getting into an industry, that's exactly how I would do pay-per-call. Okay, if you do it any other way, if you just guess, you just throw out some numbers, you're going to screw yourself, right? You're either going to put yourself upside down, right? And the leads are costing more than you thought. And so you're literally negative, okay? Or you're going to undersell yourself. And underselling yourself is like best case scenario, meaning the CPA is, that you could have gotten is $70 a call, and instead you priced it too low because you didn't know your ass from your elbow, right? And you sold it for 40. You're literally missing out on $30 a call. And I've seen way too many people do that. All right, next up, Ken asks, how do you set up retargeting ads inside of Gmail? Well, Ken, I'm glad you asked. And Ken, I have an assumption that you probably saw my ads inside of Gmail. Anybody see these as of late? Anybody see these as of late? Give me one if you've seen this inside of Gmail or an ad like it. Okay, so I am retargeting. Yeah, Frankie, Bill. Okay, cool. Yeah, and YouTube. I'm retargeting. Okay, so these budgets are low, right? I'm only going after you guys, my customers, my prospects, right? People that have visited my site, people that have viewed my YouTube videos, right? It's all just retargeting. Okay, so Gmail is one of the ways that we're doing that. Okay, so doing this inside of Gmail is super easy. So essentially, these are the steps. Very simple, right? You're going to go inside of Google Ads, which is the new version of Google AdWords. You're going to create a new campaign. You're going to make sure that you choose the campaign type as display network. And then the next question it's going to ask you is, what's your goal? Okay, you can only run sales, leads, website traffic, and goalless options with Gmail ads. So just know that not every type of goal will work with a Gmail ad. Okay, then the next screen, basically you're going to choose a campaign subtype and you're going to choose Gmail. All right. Then it's going to ask you for your targeting options. One of those is going to be keywords. You don't want to show up for keywords if you're doing retargeting. That's not the point, right? You want to choose audiences and then choose what remarketing lists you want to show the ads to. Okay, so just know, guys, remarketing, retargeting, it's the same words, just different platforms, all right? So they are interchangeable, so to speak. All right, ER saying he's saying my ads too. So you can use Gmail ads and you can use remarketing or retargeting in some different ways as well. All right, so you can combine different audiences. Okay, so you could say show it to this list and this list, but not this list if you wanted. Okay, you can get pretty crazy with that list criteria as well. You could say, show me everybody that visited my website, right? If you have an e-com website, you could say, show me everybody that visited, right, this product page, but didn't buy, and you could show them an offer just to that product, right inside of Gmail ads. If you have an info product, you could send them to, right, you could say everybody that went to my sales page for the info product, right, that didn't buy, right, same thing. I want to show them an ad for that info product. Okay, you can do it with abandoned carts. You can do it, right, like your imagination is the limit, right? And you can get literally as detailed as you want here. Okay, and then obviously you can do like your customer list where you take a list and you upload it into Google Ads. Okay. What is the best way to know what to bid per CPM, right? CPM is stands for cost per thousand for both traffic fuel, YouTube, AdWords, etc. So traffic fuel is what we call like an RTB network or a third-party network, second-party network that buys from Google basically wholesale. Then we got YouTube, AdWords, etc. So this is a question from Ken. So there is no like right or wrong answer here, Ken. Depending on what platform you're using, the CPMs, right, the cost that you're paying is going to be widely different. Okay, so what I do is I always just go for 20% above the suggested price that they tell me, right? And then I'll give it a little bit of time and then I go review the stats after. Okay, why am I going to price it 20% above? Well, a lot of these networks, it can take a long time to get the data in and to get things kicked up and started. Okay, Google, for example, has quality score. And if you start a brand new campaign, you've never done advertising before, right? You put in brand new keywords, brand new targeting, right? Your quality score is going to be 0. Having a quality score of 0, Google's going to like throttle your ads. Okay, so for me to get past that sooner and to get the data sooner, and for me to have an experiment that I can get some data with quickly, right? I just price it at 20% above to try to get there faster, right? And to give Google some incentive, for example, in this example, or any other RTV network to give them an incentive to show my ads, right? So then I can tweak and make adjustments. Right, so I'll let it run for a day, a 2, a week, depending on how big the targeting is that I'm going to go after. I'll just set a reminder in my calendar, and then I'll go review the stats. Okay, and if I'm above my CPA target, right, my cost per acquisition target, my cost per lead, my cost per sale, whatever it is that my goal is, right, I'm either going to go fix my conversions, right, because I got a conversion problem, okay, or I'm going to go lower my CPM, right, for that traffic and what I'm willing to pay. Okay, but this is exactly how I do it. Okay, and if you run it any other way, I just think you're going about the whole situation backwards. James says, whoa, check out the new Joe. That's funny. All right, so this is a long one. So let me read this. All right, let me get a sip of coffee here first. All right, so despite my burning desire to be a lead seller, I really don't know how to generate leads. Just this week, I got a referral to a podiatrist that just purchased a retiring doctor's business and has 2 office locations in the city. His wife, the office manager, called me and asked if I can generate leads for her. I said, so you want 10 new patients a month? That would be good. And she replied, no, we want 10 new patients a week. So my question is, I have an established reputation and a company presence in which I provide SEO, review services, and direct mail. But how do I actually generate leads? So that's a mouthful to begin with, but Scott's not done yet. Gotta love you, Scott. Scott says, in addition, I own a licensed real estate company and pay $600 a month for another company to generate seller leads for us. If I had confidence that I can generate leads myself, I would have endless prospects, as everyone needs great leads. So to sum it up, my question is, what can you or your company do to train or fulfill leads in various verticals? And what is the best way for someone like me to generate leads today? A simple blueprint that works would be golden. Would like a clear answer and not everything wrapped up in a sales pitch. Man, that's a mouthful, but no worries, Scott. I gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. All right. So there's a lot in here. Real training. Freaking amazing. Yeah. Can't beat it, man. All right, so my feedback is the best way to generate leads today. First and foremost, learn one platform at a time. Until you conquer it, until you figure it out, don't go on to another platform. Meaning if you start with Google, right, don't go off and start playing with Instagram or Bing or whatever, right? Just don't, right? One platform at a time. Uber focused, okay? In most niches for agencies and for local businesses, I'd suggest starting with Google Ads. Again, we talked about why. So why, somebody says, go ahead and pitch. I'm not pitching anything. These are for free. No pitch involved. So in most niches, again, I'd suggest Google Ads. Why? Because again, we talked about it a little bit ago on the AMA here, but it's the difference between search ads, right? And being at the right place at the right time, exactly when somebody's looking for something, versus display ads, when you're literally interrupting somebody, okay? If you can make display ads work, you're a smart mofo, right? It's a whole lot easier to get search ads to work when somebody has an intent, right? I don't care what it is, right? And they're looking you up and then they want to go there and they want to make that transaction. That is the easiest, right? That's where I would start if I were you, okay? Breaking it down even further. So if you're going to run Google Ads to start, as long as you want phone calls, run mobile call only ads. So your ads are only going to show up, right, on mobile devices, specifically cell phones, right? So you're only targeting mobile, and then your only available option, right, when somebody clicks on that ad, when a prospect clicks on that ad, excuse me, is to call, right? So you get the little pop-up, notification. It says call and it has the phone number there. Okay, why start there? Because that ad unit, the mobile call only, is going to help you eliminate a lot of things that you're not ready for yet. Okay, really a whole website and all that branding, and you got to make sure that it converts and all that, right? Even me running AdWords for as long as I have, it's still challenging, man, getting into a new niche and getting a landing page that converts. So we're going to get rid of that, right? We're not going to deal with it. Okay, on call only, not everybody's going to call when they click the ad. Okay, if you figure a 1 in 2 or 1 in 3, right, will convert. So 50%, let's say 33 to 50% conversion rate to call. Okay, that gets rid of the crazy complex scenarios of the landing pages where your conversion rate may be 1 in 10, maybe 1 in 20, maybe 1 in 100. Right? So that's going to really help stack the odds in your favor to getting results and getting results now. Not getting an email, right? Getting a phone call now of somebody that wants your service now. Does that make sense? Give me a 2 if that makes sense. Okay. So only after you master call only ads on desktop, right? Or after you master call only ads, then and only then add on desktop, right? Build out a landing page and do that other stuff that I said to wait till later for. Okay, but just run mobile call only ads. In this day and age, folks, there is so much mobile traffic, it is ridiculous, right? You should have no shortage of leads just running call only ads on mobile. I never thought about it that way. Awesome, fantastic. Cool. Michael says, I thought call only ads were expensive. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be more expensive traditionally on a cost per click basis than another type of ad unit. But Michael, what you have to remember is that your conversion rate is also a lot better, right? I said 33% to 50% conversion rate, when a typical conversion rate for any type of local offer is probably 1 in 10 to 1 in 100, aka 10% or 1%. Awesome. Next up, Ron Mitchell asks, if you had to start from absolute nothing, where would you start from? And I mean zero. In major debt, actually, and recovering from a major stroke. First and foremost, Ron, I'm very sorry to hear that. Let's see what we can do to help you out. What would you do to start making money in the space now? This is it. This is exactly what I would do. Blueprint it out as exact as I could make it for you. All right. So first things first, do client services, right? And limit your scope. I see a lot of people jump into like the agency and freelancer world doing marketing services for people, and they start out in day one, they do everything. Man, they do anything that you will ask them to do, which means that they become an expert at none of them and they become a slave to their business literally overnight, right? So do one service, limit it to one service, and for the same type of business, right? Um, let's say that you decide, because we talked about PPC in the last example, let's just say that you decide that you want to run AdWords, right? And that's what you're going to do. Okay. Don't decide that you're going to do that and then say, I'll do AdWords for everybody, because it's not the same, right? Doing AdWords for e-com companies, right, and local companies that want phone calls, for example, is very different, right? So do one service and for the same type of business. Why? First off, you're going to get paid to learn, right? You're going to get paid to advance your skills and to become an expert. Okay. Second, every advancement that you figure out for one customer applies to every other customer, right? You get leverage. 3, every advancement that you figure out makes your customers all get better results, right? And better results is an easier to sell service. Keep it simple and focus. Don't let anything else get in the way. Barry Gordon asks, Joe, what do you do when you rank a site for paper lead calls and the business that you are sending calls to winds up doing poor work, not following up with customers, etc., and people start leaving bad reviews for your site? Well, Barry, I hate to disappoint you, but it's going to be a very, very simple answer. Fucking fire them. Don't do business with them. It's that simple, right? I take it a step further. After you fire them, you call up the customers, you apologize, right? You do what a real business would do. You make it right. However you can, you make it right. Why? Because it's your asset, right? You don't want them spreading bad things about you. Step 1, fire that customer. Step 2, go make it right, just like you would do in any other business, right? Somebody leaves any business a bad review, what are you going to do? You're going to take care of it. You're going to fix what happened. You may have to fire somebody on your team, right? And then second, you're going to go figure out how to make it right with the customer. Same exact process, whether you're running a pay-per-call business or you're running a local business yourself, right? And you're doing the work or your team's doing the work. Next up, James asks, what is the best way, or how is the best way to deploy retargeting on our websites and then track it and optimize it? All right. So if I were you guys, you do any type of retargeting, you drop any type of tracking code on a website, right? Which there's tracking scripts for like everything, Google Analytics, any type of traffic platform, like any platform out there like that, right? You gotta add code to your website, tracking code. I would recommend you use Google Tag Manager for everything. So you put this one snippet on your code, or one snippet of code on your website from Google Tag Manager, right? You never have to keep adding snippets on the website, right? You can keep adding them all right from within Google Tag Manager, right? So if you got a customer, and you keep sending them code over and over to put on their website, put this, put that, put this, put that. Trust me when I say it just gets annoying, right? When we run traffic for a customer that's not pay-per-call, right? When we're running traffic on all the major platforms for them, we have them install Google Tag Manager. We have them install that once. They have one snippet of code to install. I can go out to every traffic platform and I can get their tracking code, right? And I can then myself or my team themselves, right, can just log into the Google Tag Manager account and they can add all of that code and we never have to ask the client to do it again. Okay. So for clients, it's great, but also for yourself, right? Like I can't tell you guys how many times for one of our sites, one of our projects, whatever, right? How many times I've hit up a developer, hey, can you please add this to the site? Because I don't even know the logins, because I don't do FTP, I don't build software, right? Like I don't do that stuff, right? I don't even have the access to the accounts. So first and foremost, use Google Tag Manager. Why? Because it's one place, once it's installed, where you, right, or anybody on your team can manage all the tracking codes in one interface. Next up, right, install conversion tracking for each platform. So if you're going to run retargeting, are you running Google? You run in Google Display Network? You run in Gmail? You run in Facebook? You run in Instagram, right? You run in some RTB and some third-party or second-tier networks, right? Figure out all the ones that you want to run with, right? And get them all installed, right? Do this in one foul swoop. Don't go do it a la carte, okay? This is like the foundation of any marketing campaign. The foundation of your house is like to get all of this tracking set up and ready to go, right? Because you can't start adding rooms and walls, right, and roofs without that foundation. I didn't know that's what Tag Manager did. I will start using that. Awesome. So then when you actually start running the campaigns, start at just a few dollars a day and don't go crazy. Don't try to conquer them all day one, right? Put $1 a day or $2 a day or $5 a day, whatever it is that you can afford, right? And just keep it low for your budget and just see what happens, right? See what your costs are going to be. See what your interactions like, right? See what your results are like. The other thing then, once you start to iterate, and come up with more ideas, I would test 3 to 4 hypotheses at a time, right? Ideas that you have on what would work best, right? What ads are going to work best? What call to action is going to work best, right? So for a local business, is it just us staying in front of them is the key? Is it, us testing, and again, these are all just hypotheses that we would want to test. I can't even say the plural version of that word, right? But what offer is going to work? Is it us coming in and doing like a free analysis for them? Is that the best thing? Is it us showing a 10% off coupon? Is it, it could be a million different things. So you want to just come up with 3 to 4 ideas that you think could work, right? And then test them. Okay, so start just one easy design, get it done, get it up, right, for a few bucks a day. Right? While that's going and getting traffic and you're starting to get some traction with it, right? Come up with 3 to 4 hypotheses. I can't say again the plural version of that word, right? Or ideas that would work best. So once you have some data, right, now you can go and start testing each of these individual ideas. That's how I would deploy a retargeting campaign. So we install tracking for each platform, James says, with Google Tag Manager tracks each platform. No, that's not what I said. You're gonna have to listen to the replay, homie. All right, next question. Stephen Costable asks, what do you see as being the biggest opportunities heading into 2019? What areas will still continue to grow, and what areas are being underutilized that you believe have huge upside potential for being an early adopter? So some of these questions are so broad that it's hard for me to answer. It's like, well, you want to go in this direction or you want to go in that direction. So just let's get this out of the way. Like lots of people on our email list are local businesses. Lots of people on our list are local agencies or freelancers. So we have a nice combination of the two. Okay, I'm going to talk about what I think are the biggest opportunities for everybody. Right? Whether you actually run a local business, right? Or whether you're a marketing agency or a freelancer. Okay, I think that the same thing applies. Hypotheses, thanks. So I think that the biggest opportunities in 2019, I think first and foremost, the biggest opportunity that you got to start with is building an audience. Okay, if you're an agency, your audience is your prospects. right? Who are your prospects? You got to dig further. Again, like what niche are you going to go after and what services are you going to provide, right? Are you a dental marketing company? Are you a roofing marketing company, right? And then what are the services that you're going to provide to them, okay? Who would that prospect list be? Who would that customer list be? Okay, too many of us think about like our agency, and I'm talking about our agency business, and it's just like we got to go sell a customer today, and we don't think about tomorrow. We don't think about long term, right? So if we don't sell somebody today, how many of you guys are going and you're following up with in a 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a year later with a prospect that you didn't sell? No. Right? So first and foremost, you got to build, I just spit there. You got to build an audience of customers and of prospects. Okay. Second, you got to stay in front of that audience. Okay. Use remarketing. Be everywhere. Be what I call omnipresent, right? Where people literally can't go anywhere without seeing you with an email, a video, push notifications, whatever. They see your ads and they see your face and your brand everywhere. Next up, you want to make sure that you deliver amazing content on the regular. Why? So that they get value out of what you're saying and you don't just become annoying because you're everywhere, right? Next up, you want to make offers that your competitors can't compete with. Okay, so for local, for example, I think there's a lot of people in local that have offers that are very low priced and that they probably like they don't make much money from. They're kind of a hassle. They don't get many customers from either. Why not just make the product free, right? Or why not make it just cheap as shit, right? And make it an offer that your competitors can't compete with. Become the expert in your niche, right? So if you're going after dentist, create a product, package a product that makes sense, that you can scale, that doesn't cost you a lot on your end, right? And go give away or you know, for a year, do social media or do retargeting for $100 for the year, right? Are any of your competitors going to be able to compete with that? No. Right? You can use 90% or 100% of the same posts and the same strategies over and over and over again for every customer, right? That's going to help you build raving fans, right? Really, you're going to do this, Joe, Scott, Shane, for $100? I'm paying right now literally $1,000 a month for somebody to do the same thing, right? Make offers that your competitors can't even begin to imagine of being able to compete with, right? Turn your customers and your prospects into raving fans and deliver offers, right? Over time, you want to deliver more offers. Right away, you want to go in laser focused, right? But over time, you want to deliver more offers. Once you get one method or one product, right, you get that figured out and you can bang out amazing results for your customers, right? Then you systematize that process, you hand it over to somebody else on your team to run, and you move on to the next thing, right? So we started with a rep product or a social product to get everybody in the door, right? Right? To make offers that our competitors can't compete with, right? And then that helps us turn our customers into raving fans. Then we go and we offer them the next thing, right? The next solution to their problem. Okay, so deliver more than one offer, right? That solves your customer's problem. Because once you have a customer, right, you got to start focusing on what's the lifetime value and what are the other problems that I can help that customer solve. Guys, if I only sold one product, if I only sold one product in any of my businesses, I would be a poor mofo, right? I would be barely scratching the surface of what I could be doing both revenue-wise and profit-wise in my business, as well as only scratching the surface of the results that I could provide for my customers, whether it's you guys on this webinar or the local businesses that I work with inside my agencies. Good stuff? Give me a 3 if that's good. Okay, and this applies, again, if you're a local business, if you're an info product, if you're an e-commerce company, right? It doesn't freaking matter. I believe that this is the map, right, to the biggest opportunities in 2019. I feel like a lot of people are getting fat and sassy doing the very minimum that they can do. This, right? This right here, I think is the true key to absolutely crushing any market in 2019. All right, James Hunter asks, how do you start a lead gen business in a big city like New York, where the businesses have a lot of population and Google Ads take the top listings with ads? So essentially, James, what I got from your question, I wasn't quite sure if, if it was how do I rank in Google Maps for a big city like New York City, or just how do I compete in general, right? Like all over in New York City. So I kind of answered both. First and foremost, I go after like smaller areas. I go after the suburbs. Okay. Second, I would create a better ad or offer. Okay. Or better ad and offer. And then third, right, if that doesn't solve it, right, and you're not getting that steady stream, then I would start running call only ads, right, so that your CPA is less than your competitors. All right, Karen Chung asks, what are the top 5 key factors to achieving your success in the digital marketing space? So guys, this is the last question, all right? And we are just in the nick of time. So this is it, right? 5 key factors for your success in digital marketing. When I look at my key factors, not key factors in general, but this was asked, Joe, what are your key factors? I think the number one thing is, and again, this is going to piss some people off, me swearing, but I'm fucking resilient, right? Whether I'm thick in the head, no matter how many times I've been beat down, no matter how many times I get up, I'm fucking resilient, right? And I will just keep going back for more, right? You knock me out in a boxing match, right? I fall to my face, I'm getting back up, right? Every single time. And you could say I'm dense, right? But but I am resilient. I will keep coming back for more over and over and over and over again. And I think that being an entrepreneur, I think that you have to be resilient. It can be very easy to let things get to you, right? Somebody quits, an employee, a key employee quits, a customer, texts you and says business is going bad and they want to cancel their contract. That's $15,000 a month, and you don't know how you're going to keep your team, going without that revenue, right? Like shit like that. Being an entrepreneur happens on the daily. You got to be fucking resilient, right? Like we got to be how the rest of the world isn't, right? If we really want results that the rest of the world doesn't have, if we want things that the rest of the world doesn't have, right? If we want something different for ourselves. 2, I think you got to get laser focused. I think you got to work on one major thing at a time. Every time that I focus on more than that, shit in my business falls apart, right? So work on one major thing at a time. 3, make systems and processes, right, to offload your work, right? As soon as you get that one thing wrapped up, you launch it, it's off the ground, it's going well, right? Make systems and processes to offload that, to get it off of your plate, right? You should be like a project-based employee in your own business where you're always working on the business, right? So it's like, all right, so the next thing that's going to move the needle the most in the business is doing this one thing. You go do it, you get to play with it, you get to do something new, you get to, be that creator and see it shine and see something cool happen with it, right? And then right behind that is you handing it off with the systems and processes to your team. Okay, I would say though, with number 3, you got to make sure that you know how you're going to be able to track results, and what are like the KPIs you got to watch for, and what are the things you got to watch for to make sure that things don't go off the rails, right? What are the things that you can watch from afar and know that, like, yes, your team's doing a great job managing your customers' expectations or whatever the expectations are of that process. Next up, 4, model successful people. Model successful models, right? Don't reinvent the wheel, right? And guys, this goes so far. Just like business models in general, when you pick a business model, looking at your competitors, right? How can you do what they've done, but how can you make it better, right? I always look at the successful people in any business that I go into, and it's like, all right, I see how they made it. I see how they're advertising. I see their offer. That's great, right? But now what can I do to just bring them down at their freaking knees, right? How can I do it better than them? All right, number 5, this one, this one's the hardest. This one's the hardest. Because if you're not careful, it goes away. You have to have unrealistic standards, like completely unrealistic standards, and you have to never be willing to compromise those standards. So I think that the thing that helps me the most with number 5 is I can have a big dream, right? I can have a big dream for a project, a product, no matter what it is, right? I can have a big dream. I can have those unrealistic standards, right? I can say I'm going to launch this thing and we're going to be doing $100,000 a month in 6 months or 2 months or a year, whatever it is, right? I can set what 95% or 99% of people or 99% of you guys would say, like, Joe, that's unrealistic, right? But over time, if I don't hit that goal, you could say that I start to compromise with that, right? So for me, the first part is as you start to be successful, I think the first part becomes easier, right? The second part for me, the key to that and never compromising and kind of reinvigorating yourself is to be around people that are doing better than you, right? To be around people that you aspire to be, right? To be around people that are doing what you want to do. And I don't just mean like people that are entrepreneurs and, like they have this grind mindset and all they do all day, every day is work. That doesn't need to be it, right? It can be the opposite of that. It can be people like, more like the 4-hour work week that make 100 grand a year or 200 grand a year and they work 4 hours a week, right? Like it needs to be based upon what you want to be, right? If you start following the wrong people, right, it's not going to help you with number 5, okay? But what helps me with number 5 is always being around people that are doing awesome shit. And guys, I pay a lot of money for number 5 because it keeps me invigorated and it keeps me motivated, okay? And number 5 is what keeps me going all day, every day. I look at somebody and it makes me fucking jealous, right? I want to be better than them, right? That motivation, that fire is what fuels my business day in and day out for me to crush everybody. All right, guys, that is it. Q&A is officially over. Thank you for joining me on the AMA.